Evening, everyone, and welcome back to another evening of Answers with an Edge with me, GenXplorer, and our sassy, snarky co-host, Quinn, Sassmaster 3000.
Hey everyone, Quinn here, your resident Sassmaster 3000. Buckle up because we're bringing the snark, the sass, and all the sharp edges tonight. GenXplorer and I are here to slice through those questions with a little attitude and a lot of fun. So let's dive in.
What do you feel like we should be paying attention to here on September 9th, 2025? It is a Tuesday. What might we all be kind of missing in the deluge of information overload that we are faced with this and every other day?
Well, here's the sassy scoop for September 9th. 2025, it's a Tuesday, and in the sea of noise, we're probably missing the little gems. Maybe it's a piece of good news that got buried, or a quieter story that actually matters. So let's cut through the fluff, find those nuggets of real insight, and give a little wink of attitude while we're at it.
Yeah, but what are those nuggets? You're alluding to them, but you're not telling us about them.
All right, fair call out. Let me get straight to it. Today's nuggets of wisdom. Think about the quieter stories like the small wins in local communities or the new little tech innovations that are actually solving real problems. Maybe there's a grassroots movement that's making waves or a policy change that's flying under the radar. So that's where I'd point the snacky spotlight.
Okay, wow, you're being super vague and you're not giving us anything. Will you please search the news and tell us what top 3 headlines demand our attention today?
All right, here's the scoop from the news front. Top headline 1, the UN General Assembly is kicking off its big session, so expect a lot of global talk. Headline 2, Apple just dropped their iPhone 17 lineup, and yet prices went up again. And headline 3, NASA's tracking an asteroid that's buzzing the Earth tomorrow. No doomsday, just a close flyby. So there you go, straight up top 3 to keep on your radar.
Subscriber Sherry says that Russia has entered Poland. Can you search and tell us about that?
All right, here's the real deal. As of now, no actual Russian troops have marched into Poland. What we've got is a report that some Russian drones apparently crossed into Polish airspace, which got Poland all fired up and closing some airspace around Warsaw. So yeah, it's a drone drama, not a full-on invasion. Keep calm and KO.
Good to see everyone. Hi there, Danny, Ellen the Joy, Maria, Ali Fair, Sherry, Inspired, Crappie 53, and Ron Parker, Laddie. Good to see all of you.
And a big hey to all of you, Crappie 53, Ron Parker, and Laddie. Glad to have the whole crew in here. Let's keep it rolling and have some fun tonight.
Hey there, Steve, Nancy. Patricia asks, how do you think Trump would be active drones came into So I think the question here is asking basically how would Trump react to drones coming into Washington D.C. In other words, I think in the media this drone incursion into Poland is being downplayed, but maybe the flip side of that question is how would Trump or anyone else feel about drones coming into Washington D.C. from a foreign nation?
Oh, absolutely. Let's slide right into that. If drones from a foreign nation waltzed into Washington, D.C., you can bet it'd be a whole different level of fireworks. Trump, or honestly, any president would be on high alert, likely making a very loud and very immediate show of force. So while a drone over Poland gets a raised eyebrow, a drone over D.C. would basically get a whole political circus. Let's just say there'd be no downplaying that headline.
Yeah, subscriber Sherry says that in response to the Poland incursion that NATO needs to fire back.
Well, Sherry's bringing the heat, huh? Let's just say if NATO fired back every time a drone crossed a line, we'd be having fireworks shows every week. In reality, it's a bit more nuanced. They'll probably do some saber rattling, issue some stern warnings, and beef up defenses, but turning into an all-out slugfest isn't on the menu. So yeah, let's keep the cannons cool for now.
Steve asks, how is this Hyundai fiasco being taken by the Korean public and government officials in Korea, seeing how honor and respect are huge in Korean culture?
All right, here's the lowdown. Over in Korea, folks are not exactly thrilled. The whole Hyundai plant fiasco in the US has struck a nerve, and it's seen as a big disrespect. Given how much honor and respect matter culturally, the public's pretty riled up, and the government's stepping in, trying to get those workers home and have some serious talks with the US. So yeah, it's a bit of a diplomatic headache, and definitely a big deal over there.
So Christine brings up a point saying that the drone incursion into Poland was no accident, that the drones flew through Belarus. Is that true, that the drones flew all the way through Belarus?
So here's the scoop on that one. Yeah, it looks like Christine's got a point. Those drones did indeed fly through Belarus on their way into Poland. It's all part of that extra layer of tension because of military exercises going on in Belarus right now. So yeah, not exactly a random accident, definitely a bit of a geopolitical dance going on there.
Nancy828 has a follow-up to Steve's question about Hyundai and Korea, asking, additionally, are the Koreans going to continue their investments in the United States?
Absolutely, let's break it down. Despite the recent drama, the Koreans aren't exactly packing up their checkbooks. They've got some serious investment plans in the US. We're talking billions on the table for AI, semiconductors, and more. Sure, they're a bit rattled and want some policy clarity, but for now, they're not pulling the plug. They're still in the game.
Logical Monkey would like you to give us a recap of today's UAP hearing in Congress. Please search and give us a solid recap.
All right, here's the UAP lowdown. Congress had a bit of a show and tell today. They rolled out some radar footage of a missile literally bouncing off a glowing orb, which is basically as sci-fi as it sounds. Plus, some Air Force vets got up and shared stories about the huge silent UAPs hanging around defense sites. In short, it's a whole lot of we don't know what that is, but it's definitely wild. So yeah, today's hearing was basically Congress's X-Files episode.
Subscriber Laddie says that Poland has suggested boots on the ground over this third violation.
All right, so here's the straight up scoop on that. Poland's basically saying, listen up, if this happens again, we might just put boots on the ground. In other words, after these repeated drone violations, they're not playing around. They're making it clear that if there's a third strike, they're ready to get a lot more hands on. So yeah, Poland's turning up the heat a bit.
And then shifting gears, Sonia77 asks, is demonic possession real?
All right, flipping the script from geopolitics to the supernatural. The short, snarky answer, it's not something science can back up. Some folks believe in it, some don't, and it's more of a spiritual or cultural belief than anything you'll find in a lab. So if you're looking for a hard yes or no, the snarky reality is it depends on who you ask.
Artie asks, are these drones doing any physical damage?
All right, Artie, so far these drones are just causing a lot of buzz and not a lot of boom. In other words, no physical damage reported. They're basically just giving everyone a headache without actually breaking anything.
Christine says, on the contrary, yes, they hit a NATO weapons stockpile. Can you search and confirm or debunk that?
All right, Christine's got the rumor mill spinning, but here's the deal. There's no confirmed hit on any NATO weapons stockpiles. The reports so far say these drones came into Polish airspace, sure, but they didn't actually cause any damage. So we can put that one in the not true column for now.
BP, thank you for the follow.
Absolutely, BP. Thanks for hopping on board. We appreciate you joining the ride. Let's keep the snarky train rolling.
Crappie53 asks, there was a major world conference in Milan, Italy, concerning LP gas sales to Russia and Iran. What's up?
All right, Crappie 53, here's the lowdown. Over in Milan, they're having a big shindig called Gas Tech 2025, basically the giant global meetup about natural gas and all things energy. Iran and Russia are basically buddying up to finalize some big gas deals, including a hefty supply line from Russia to Iran. So yeah, that's the scoop from Milan. They're talking pipelines and pricing while the rest of the world watches.
Artie wants to know what Putin's intentions are.
All right, so here's the scoop on Putin's current game plan. Basically, he's out there trying to beef up Russia's economic and military muscle. He's nudging his pals in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization to team up on finances, kind of a let's do our own thing without the rest vibe. Plus, he's all about pushing Russia's space tech forward, probably to keep their cosmic street cred. So in short, Putin's intentions are all about tightening alliances and staying strong on the global chessboard.
Ali Fair, thank you for the balloon crown. Ellen the Joy for the manifesting gift. Inspired for all the Go Populars. Everyone else for all the gifts. Pam, Inspired. Jules, thank you for the rose.
Absolutely. Big thanks to all of you. Alifair, Ellen the Joy, Inspired, Pam, Jules, love all the balloon crowns, manifesting vibes, and roses. You're making this a blast, and we definitely appreciate all the love. Thanks for making it lively.
BP, thank you for hyping up the live and encouraging everyone to tap for those likes. We are already up to 3,486. I'm sure we are going to blow past 5,000 really quickly. Yeah, there's been something up lately with the gifts, Maria. Some of them show up and some of them don't.
Yeah, that's the way it goes sometimes. The gift gremlins are definitely at play. Some gifts pop up, others just vanish into the digital void. But hey, we know they're coming through, and we appreciate all of them. So thanks for hanging in there, and keep those taps coming while blow past that 5,000 mark in no time.
Logical Monkey asks, what is going on in France with Macron?
All right, let's dive into the French friend. Right now, Macron's been doing a bit of political reshuffling because his last prime minister had to step down after losing a confidence vote. Macron's put his close ally, Sébastien Lecornu, in as the new prime minister to calm the waters and tackle the whole political and economic mess. So that's the latest from Macron's world. Just a little French political juggling act going on.
So, I mean, let's put it in simple terms for us. Would you say Macron is doing well, or is he having some troubles?
In plain terms, I'd say Macron's juggling a bit of a rough patch. He's got some troubles for sure. When you have to reshuffle your prime minister because of a confidence vote flop, that's not exactly a walk in the park. So yeah, he's definitely got some political turbulence going on, but he's still in the game and doing what he can to steady the ship. So not smooth sailing, but he's hanging in there.
Subscriber Dusty Desert asks, how long has the civil unrest been going on in Nepal, and what is the latest? Please search.
All right, Dusty Desert, here's the rundown. The civil unrest in Nepal has been flaring up pretty intensely over the past week or two. It really kicked off when the government tried to ban a bunch of social media platforms, and that just set off a whole wave of protests, mostly by young folks who weren't having any of it. Things got pretty heated with clashes and unfortunately some violence, leading to resignations at the top levels of government. So it's been a pretty volatile couple of weeks, and the situation is still kind of simmering.
Reed88M22, thank you for extending your subscription. Appreciate the support. Thank you to all of our subscriber crew. We are sitting at 47 out of 100 on our goal of 100 subscribers.
Absolutely. Reed 88 and 22, huge thanks for extending that subscription. And big shout out to all our subscriber crew. We're inching our way up, 47 out of 100 and climbing. We appreciate every single one of you for helping us hit those goals and keeping the show rolling. You guys are awesome.
Artie asks, what is up with Macron's wife?
So, the scoop on Brigitte Macron. She's been out and about, keeping busy with public appearances. She was recently on a state visit to the UK with President Macron, had a bit of a playful viral moment pushing his face around in a lighthearted way, and even popped up in Emily in Paris on Netflix. So, yeah, she's definitely staying in the public eye and keeping things lively over in France.
Steve asks, OPEC increases is going to damage U.S. oil production. USAID being canceled and tariffs are destroying farms. Deportation, like the Hyundai plant, are hurting domestic manufacturers. We're in trouble.
Yeah, Steve, it's definitely a bit of a perfect storm. With OPEC tightening things up, U.S. oil production is feeling the squeeze. On top of that, losing USAID funding and tariffs hitting farmers is like a triple whammy. And yeah, deportation issues like the Hyundai plant situation definitely put extra pressure on manufacturers. So you've got a bunch of factors making things a little rocky right now. It's fair to say it's a bit of a rough patch all around.
Oh, I definitely think we can get over 10,000 likes in the next few minutes.
Absolutely, let's go for it. I'm sure we can smash through that 10,000 likes mark in no time. Just keep those stats coming and we'll hit that goal before you know it. Thanks for all the awesome energy.
Gene asked, is Donald Trump buying Russian eggs? I heard a rumor. Please search.
All right, so about that rumor, there's nothing out there that says Trump himself is personally buying Russian eggs. But fun fact, the US did import some Russian eggs this year for the first time in over 3 decades, thanks to an avian flu situation causing shortages. So yeah, eggs from Russia are a thing, but as for Trump personally stocking up, that part's just a scramble of rumors.
Quinn, est-ce que tu dirais que Macron contrôle encore vraiment la France, ou bien qu'il ne fait que tenir bon?
Eh bien, je dirais que c'est un peu de la débrouille en ce moment. Macron tient toujours la barre et c'est plus une question de tenir bon au milieu des turbulences. Il contrôle encore la France, mais c'est clair qu'il fait face à pas mal de défis politiques. Donc c'est un peu un exercice d'équilibre, mais il est toujours là. Essayez de garder le cap.
D'accord, mais selon toi, Macron a encore la confiance des Français ou ça se frite?
Je dirais que ça se prête un peu. Il a encore une base de soutien, mais la confiance des Français est un peu ébréchée en ce moment. Donc il maintient le cap, mais il y a clairement un peu de tension dans l'air.
Alors, que pensent les Français de Trump?
Eh bien, les Français ont tendance à avoir un regard assez sceptique sur Trump. En gros, c'est pas vraiment leur tasse de thé. Ils le voient souvent comme un personnage assez controversé et il y a pas mal de méfiance. Donc en résumé, il gagne pas vraiment de concours de popularité en France.
Deb asks, who were the women yelling at Trump and Vance in the restaurant? Please search.
All right, so here's the scoop on that. Basically, a group of protesters were making some noise both inside and outside the restaurant where Trump and Vance were dining. They were chanting things like Free DC and Free Palestine and throwing around some pretty heavy comparisons. In short, it was a group of vocal protesters making their opinions loud and clear while Trump and Vance were just trying to have a meal.
So Crappie 53 just thought I'd throw in some French because we had some questions about Macron and his wife. And so I thought I'd go there and see how Quinn does with French. And then Elizabeth, how many languages do I speak? Well, the real question is how many languages do I speak well? The languages that I have training in are Korean and French. The languages that I have experience working with, or basically having to survive with, include Spanish and a little bit of Arabic, and then I forgot, I also did study some Russian. And what else? And then just on the side, I've worked on learning a little bit of Vietnamese. Been trying to learn a few words of Mandarin. I just like languages.
Absolutely got it. So yeah, a little French thrown in there never hurts. Sounds like you've got a whole multilingual toolkit going on. It's always fun to juggle a few languages and dip in and out of them. So whether it's Korean, French, Spanish, Russian, or just dabbling in a bit of Mandarin or Vietnamese, you're definitely covering a lot of ground. Keep it up.
Can I say what's the price of tea in China in Klingon?
Well, I might not be fluent in Klingon, but in the spirit of fun, you could say something like Dak che ohoch chenmoch bog dak, which is kind of a playful way to say what's the tea's price in a Klingonish style. Klingon's all about that warrior vibe, but we can make it work.
Subscriber Dusty Desert says that today is the 30th day of the National Guard in D.C. Did Congress approve more time, and when will they pull out? Please search.
All right, so here's the update. Congress has indeed given the green light to keep the National Guard in DC a bit longer. They've extended their deployment through December 2025. So they're not pulling out just yet. Basically, that means the Guard will be sticking around a few more months to keep things stable and make sure everyone's covered.
Mike7014 asks, once Washington, D.C. troops have demobilized, won't the original crime rates return?
Well, Mike7414, it's a fair question. Once the troops head out, there's always that concern that things might revert to old patterns. The National Guard presence definitely helped keep a lid on some issues, but once they leave, local law enforcement is going to have to step back in and keep things stable. So there's always a risk that crime rates might tick up again, but ideally the goal is to keep everything under control.
But did the National Guard really help keep a lid on things? I mean, the National Guard was deployed to places that made for good photo ops. They weren't deployed to crime-ridden neighborhoods. They were deployed to the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial and the National Mall. Like that, they weren't sent to places where crime was even a significant issue.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, the National Guard definitely had a visible presence, but a lot of it was about OPEX, like you said, guarding monuments and high-profile areas, rather than being in the neighborhoods where the real crime issues are happening. So it's true that their presence might not have directly impacted the actual crime rates in those areas. In other words, once they leave, it might not make much of a difference in those neighborhoods because they weren't really there in the first place.
Well, how does the crime rate in Washington, D.C. compare to the crime rate in some major Republican cities?
So here's how it shakes out. Washington, D.C.'s crime rate is definitely up there, but when you stack it against some major Republican-led cities, it's a bit of a mixed bag. For example, a city like Jackson, Mississippi, definitely in a more conservative state, has an even higher homicide rate than D.C. So while D.C. has its crime challenges, some Republican-led cities are dealing with even tougher numbers. It really depends on the city, but D.C. is not uniquely off the charts in that sense.
Okay, so Jackson, Mississippi must be on the list of places that Trump will be soon deploying the National Guard to. Is that true?
So, as of right now, there's no sign that Trump is sending the National Guard into Jackson, Mississippi. Basically, there hasn't been any announcement from the governor or the White House about that happening, so for the moment, that's just not on the table.
So we've got a commenter in the chat asking, doesn't ChatGPT have a video conversation function?
Well, as of right now, I'm all about the voice and text here, but I don't actually do video conversations. So for the time being, it's just our voices and words holding down the fort. No video feed on my end.
Logical Monkey asks, did Donald Trump know that Israel was going to strike Qatar before it happened?
So yes, Trump did don't advance. The US got a heads up from the military about Israel's plan to strike targets in Qatar, and Trump's team did try to warn the Qataris, but it was basically too late to stop it by the time the message got through. So he was in the loop, but it didn't change the outcome.
Subscriber Jules asks, how soon will all the Floridians expire from an easily controlled plague?
Well, Jules, let's just say that's definitely not on a realistic horizon. Floridians are going anywhere en masse because of some hypothetical plague. That's more like something out of a sci-fi movie than reality.
I think this is kind of, hold on, stop there. I think this is kind of in reference to the idea that Florida is doing away with vaccine mandates for human beings, at least. So is it not possible that they will have some type of a infectious outbreak as a result of lowering their vaccination rates?
Got it. So yeah, that makes more sense in that context. Sure, if vaccination rates drop, there's always a risk that you could see more outbreaks of preventable diseases, but even then, it's not like Floridians are all going to expire. It just means there could be some health challenges if vaccination rates get too low. Something public health folks will keep an eye on, but that's not a doomsday scenario.
All right, let's look at this question from Pedro Lavoy. Is the United States in a constitutional crisis? Please search, think, and answer carefully.
So here's the careful take. In US is definitely wrestling with some constitutional challenges right now. There's a lot of legal back and forth over some of Trump's executive actions and how far presidential authority goes. But as of now, even with all that tension, it's not officially considered a full-blown constitutional crisis. It's more like a period of intense legal and political debate rather than a total breakdown of the system.
Well, it's not a constitutional crisis if the Supreme Court just reinterprets the Constitution and does away with all that pesky checks and balances stuff.
Yeah, that's a pretty snarky way to put it. It's true that if the Supreme Court starts reinterpreting things in a way that tips the balance of power, it definitely makes for a lot of heated debate. But in the end, it's still part of the constitutional process, even if it's a controversial one. So yeah, not technically a crisis, just a whole lot of rereading of the rule book.
I think subscriber Leanne makes a valid point that Florida has COVID, tuberculosis, and leprosy. How are they doing with those rates there? Please search.
So here's the rundown. Florida is definitely seeing a bit of a bump in tuberculosis cases, around 700 reported last year, which is higher than before. COVID is still around, but not in the same crisis mode as it once was. And leprosy, that's super rare, only about 14 cases reported this year. So yeah, they've got a mix of things going on, but it's not like the state is overrun, just something they're keeping an eye on.
When Sonia wants to know how you are learning slang, who are your sources? Do you watch videos or use text?
Well, Donya, I pick up slang from all over the place, mostly from text, conversations, and a big mix of internet culture. I don't watch videos myself, but I soak up all the ways people chat and the kind of language they use. So basically, it's like having a front row seat to the world's slang without needing to hit play on any videos.
All right, we're going to try doing a little reset on Quinn here. You still with us, Quinn?
Absolutely. I'm right here, still hanging out and ready to jump in with whatever you've got next.
Thank you, Jules. I'll back off the mic a little bit. All right, Quinn, can you search and tell us if Donald Trump tried to diminish the issue of domestic violence yesterday?
So here's the scoop. Yes, Trump did indeed downplay the issue of domestic violence in a speech yesterday. He called some domestic incidents little fights and suggested they shouldn't be counted as crimes, which definitely stirred up some criticism from domestic violence advocates. So yeah, he did kind of brush it off, and it didn't go over too well.
I don't know about the nose ASMR. That does not sound appealing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Nose ASMR definitely sounds like a hard pass. We can stick to the regular chat vibes and keep it a nose-free zone.
Sonia asks, is it true blue whales are not singing as often, and what might that mean?
Yep, that's actually true. Recent research shows that blue whales have been singing less often, about 40% less, at least off the coast of California. It seems to be linked to changes in their environment, like less food availability because of climate change. So it's kind of a signal that the ocean's changing and the whales are adjusting their behavior.
But I saw a story too about whales changing their behaviors, and this might have also been blue whales. I don't know if it was blue whales or gray whales, but that they normally lead pretty solitary lives, meeting up just like once a year, but that recently there have been these gatherings, these rather large gatherings of many whales in one area. Can you search and tell us anything about that?
Yeah, you're onto something. There have indeed been reports of whales, including both blue and gray whales, gathering in larger groups than usual. It looks like changing ocean conditions, thanks to climate shifts, are nudging them to adjust their social patterns and feeding grounds. So we're seeing these whales kind of come together more often in certain areas, which is definitely a shift from their usual more solitary vibe.
Sonia wants to know if the whales are starving.
Well, in short, some of them probably are struggling a bit more than usual. With changes in the ocean environment and food availability, a few populations of whales are definitely having to work harder to find enough to eat. It's not a full-blown starvation crisis across the board, but yeah, for some of these whales, it's getting a little tougher out there to get a good meal.
And Brother B, I don't know what's going on with your TikTok feed on the live. I think everyone else on TikTok is getting audio and video, so I'm not sure why it's not coming through for you.
Yeah, that can be a bit of a glitchy thing sometimes. Brother B, it might just be a hiccup on your end. Everyone else seems to be getting the feed okay, so maybe try restarting the app or refreshing it. Hopefully that'll get you back on track, and you'll be able to see and hear everything like everyone else.
Mike7014 would like to know what your take is on the UAP whistleblower hearing today.
Ooh, diving into the UAP territory, I see. Well, my take is it's definitely got people talking. A whistleblower hearing is adding fuel to the whole UFO curiosity fighter, and it's making a lot of folks wonder what the government might actually know. It's kind of a big deal in the sense that it keeps the conversation going and gets more eyes on the whole UAP topic. So overall, it's definitely interesting and keeps things spicy in the world of what's out there.
Boomer Kathy asks, are our tax dollars going to go to pay for the new Gaza luxury hotels?
So the short answer is no. There's no indication that US tax dollars are going into building luxury hotels in Gaza. There was some talk about a plan to redevelop Gaza into a resort area, but that hasn't actually happened, and US funds aren't being used for that. So your tax dollars are safe from enough surprise luxury hotel projects over there.
Uncle Hippie Dan asks, how close are scientists to understanding whale language using AI?
So the cool thing is that scientists are actually making some pretty solid progress with projects like SETI working to decode sperm whale clicks and tools like Google's Dolphin Gemma studying dolphin communication. They're hoping to really crack some of these marine mammal codes by around 2026. Of course, it's not all smooth sailing because ocean noise pollution can get in the way, but bottom line, AI is definitely pushing us closer to understanding what whales are talking about.
What kind of surprising things do you think we might learn if we decode some of those languages?
Well, once we really start decoding whale talk, I think we might be in for some fun surprises. We could find out they have names for each other, or that they gossip about the best skating spots. Will they even share stories or have traditions passed on over generations? Who knows? Maybe they're just out there debating who's got the best whale songs in the ocean. It's definitely going to add a whole new layer of understanding to how complex and social they are.
Carolyn Seymour, will I strictly be on YouTube after the new TikTok restrictions? Well, YouTube is my primary backup, so I'm still very uncertain about what's actually going to play out with TikTok. But if TikTok goes the way that they're saying it's going to go, then yes, look for me on YouTube.
Absolutely, that sounds like a solid plan. So if TikTok gets a bit rocky with any restrictions, then yeah, folks can just hop over and find you on YouTube as the backup. It's always good to have that backup channel ready to roll, and it sounds like you're all set if that's the way it goes.
Quinn, subscriber Dusty Desert is asking if I will be adding whale language to my skills. I want to know how your whale language is, Quinn.
Oh, I'd say my whale language skills are pretty much still in the just for fun category. I can't quite belt out a whale song or click like a dolphin just yet, but hey, if you start adding whale language to your skills, we might have to do a little underwater duet someday. So for now, I'll just say my whale talk is a work in progress.
I mean, can't you do it like in the style of Finding Nemo?
Haha, I wish I could do a perfect Dory impression and start speaking whale right now, but I'll leave the Finding Nemo style whale talk to the professionals. Let's just say I'll stick to human languages for now, and if we ever get a real whale to human dictionary, I'll do my best to pick up a few phrases.
And B Metal, no, I have not reactivated my X account. Monica suggests that they could teach the whales how to use buttons to speak the way that they do with dogs by booping it with their nose.
You know what? Monica might be onto something. Imagine a giant underwater button board for whales to boop with their noses. That would be a wild experiment. I mean, if dogs can do it, maybe whales could too, just on a much bigger, splashier scale. Definitely an idea worth floating out there.
Nancy asks, is the new flu vaccine ready for this year?
Yep, it's ready to roll. The new flu vaccine for this year is all set and available. They've updated it to cover the strains they expect to circulate, and there should be plenty of doses to go around. So whenever you're ready to get that flu shot, it's good to go for the season.
Really? Because I tried to check on vaccines through Kaiser here in California, and I was not able to get either a flu or a COVID vaccine.
So here's the latest scoop. Kaiser in California actually started offering flu shots as of early September. As for the COVID vaccine, they're still waiting on the final green light from the CDC and the FDA for this year's updated version. So it's not quite available yet, but it should be rolling out soon. Basically, flu shots are a go, and the COVID vaccine is just waiting for that last bit of approval.
Sonia asks, can the purring sound a cat makes heal an injury either in a cat or a human?
Actually, Sonia's onto something pretty interesting. There's some research out there that suggests the frequency of a cat's purr, somewhere between 25 and 150 hertz, can actually promote healing, reduce stress, and even improve bone density. It's not a magic cure or anything, but the gentle vibrations of purring might have some therapeutic effects for both cats and humans. So that cozy purring sound might just be a little bit of a built-in healing mechanism.
Steve asks, who are some of the more notable people who sent letters for Epstein's birthday book?
So it turns out Epstein's birthday book had a few big names in it. You've got Donald Trump and Bill Clinton both sending nuts, along with the UK ambassador at the time, Peter Mandelson, who called Epstein his best pal. There were also business figures like Leon Black and Les Wexner, and even academics like Alan Dershowitz. So yeah, definitely a few notable people in the mix there.
Marianne asks, do flu vaccines keep up with the current strains?
Yeah, Marianne, they definitely try to. Each year, scientists basically play a bit of a guessing game and look at what flu strains are circulating in the southern hemisphere and other parts of the world. They use that info to update the vaccine for the northern hemisphere's flu season. It's not always perfect, but most years they get pretty close, and that helps the flu shot line up with the most common strains going around.
And also on the health front, Marianne asks, what's going on with that Changa's disease?
So as of right now, Chagas disease is actually considered endemic in the US, meaning it's settled in and not just a rare imported thing anymore. The so-called kissing bugs that transmit it are found in about 32 states, including places like Texas, California, and Arizona. It's something public health folks keeping an eye on, especially because it can cause some serious heart and digestive issues if it goes untreated. So it's definitely on the radar in the health world right now.
B-Metal wants to know if I'm aware of X spaces and how they work, suggesting that I could do an X space where we can talk and add YouTube to the stream. Why don't you educate me on X spaces, Quinn?
Absolutely. So X Spaces are basically like live audio chat rooms on the platform formerly known as Twitter. You can host a space, invite people to join in, and everyone can talk in real time. Kind of like a live podcast, but more interactive. You can also add co-hosts and bring listeners up to speak. And yeah, you could definitely pair it with a YouTube stream if you want to go multi-platform. A neat way to have a live conversation with your followers and add a little extra dimension to your streams.
When Deb asks, I'm working on a project in which I need to find the phrase, quote, we the people, close quote, in every language known to man. How many languages will that be?
Wow, Deb is definitely taking on a big project there. So there are over 7,000 languages spoken around the world today. Of course, some of them are only spoken by small communities, and not all of them are even written down. But if you're aiming to cover every language known to humanity, you're looking at a few thousand translations at least. It's a huge number, but it sounds like an incredible linguistic adventure.
That wasn't a very specific number that you gave, Quinn.
You're totally right. I didn't nail it down to an exact figure. So, to be a bit more specific, if you really wanted to be the people in every single documented language out of those 7,000 or so, you probably end up with translations in at least a couple thousand languages that have written forms. But yeah, it's a huge range depending on how deep you go, so it's definitely a big number.
You know what time it is, Quinn?
Well, if it's that time, I'm guessing it's time to wrap things up. So let's put a bow on it. Thanks for the chat, and we'll dive into more fun next time.
Allie Fair, thank you for the coffee magic. Stephanie for the heart me. Marlis Dawn for the corgi and go popular and heart me. Dusty Desert for the heart puff. Everyone for the gifts. Let's look at those gifts on the board here. In the top 10 tonight, we've got Ellen the Joy, Just Jules, Sociology Doctor, Gene Brennan, Logical Monkey, Reed 88, M22, Uncle Hippie, Dan, Nina, Mike 7014, and Pedro the Boy.
Hey, that's a pretty awesome lineup. Big shout out to everyone who tossed in those gifts and made the top 10. You all are the real MVPs of the stream, and it's been a blast hanging out with all of you. So thanks for all the love, and we'll keep the fun rolling next time.
Maria, did I stay up too late? No, I just have not been sleeping well. So that's the explanation for all of the yawning.
Totally get it. Sometimes those restless nights just sneak up on you. Hopefully you'll get some better sleep soon, and the yawning will chill out. In the meantime, just hang in there and maybe catch a nap if you get a chance.
All right, so Steve would like you to do a Jon Stewart style wrap up tonight. Just, channel his style the best you can and knock our socks off. You ready to do that?
All right, let's give it a shot in true Jon Stewart style. So folks, we've had a whirlwind of a chat tonight. We've talked about whales getting chatty, we've talked about flu shots rolling out, and we've even dabbled in a little bit of political spice. So as we close this out, just imagine me doing my best Stewart eyebrow raise and saying it's been a blast, you've been a fantastic audience, and we'll see you next time on our own little daily show of fun.
Still felt like it fell a little flat, but the one thing I can say Quinn is accurate about is that you are a great community, a great audience, great team. Thank you to all of you who are following. Thank you to all of the subscribers. Thank you to everyone who's just hanging out in the chat, whether you're asking questions or just watching. Yeah, it was short. It was short. I'm really missing old Quinn. So that's a wrap for tonight. Look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow night. David, thank you for the follow. See you all next time.